Okay, so I thought the last time I took the actual ACT and actual testing center, I was gonna be done, but no, I'm gonna do it again. So excited! Just kidding. Okay, I'm doing this for you to give you some tips. I'm doing it again, so I'm pretty sure I forgot some tips that I wouldn't remember unless I did it again. So I'm gonna do it, and this is gonna be a bunch of like snippet videos because I'm gonna probably stop in the middle of the test, and then I'll remember something and I'll tell it, and then I'll remember something else and then I'll tell it. So first, let me start with math, and I want to give you some tips before I start. So the math section, I'm doing the ACT right now, not the SAT. The ACT, the difference is you have to know pre-cal, and in the SAT, the highest math you have to know is algebra 2. So for the ACT, it's 60 questions, 60 minutes. You would think, 1 minute per question. No. Okay, listen. It gets harder as you go. So you want to finish the first questions in as short of an amount as you can. And I forgot the exact amounts that I did, but I'm gonna go and do it, and then I'll come back and tell you how you should do your time exactly. Wish me luck. I probably forgot pre-cal. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, bye. Also, I have a formula sheet for you for the ACT and SAT in my KD binder. So look at that, because I think I wrote also the different types of questions and how to approach them. Because once you take them a lot, you're gonna realize that they're asking the same types of questions, just different numbers. Although you'll always have some hard questions I've never seen before. Maybe not. I don't know. I hope you don't, but be prepared. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that I wrote the exact timing somewhere else in Texas when we're in Tennessee right now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna do the first like half as fast as I can and see how much time I have. However, the times that I give you, you don't have to do exactly. Like Kevin, you know yourself in math, you're better than me. So the first questions, if you can do them like really fast, that's even better. So I'm gonna give you the times, and if that works for you, great. And if you also wanna try to go through them as fast as you can without losing accuracy, try both a couple of times, not just once, because the first time and when you try anything is always a little rough. So okay, I remember what I did. So what I did was I went I did it in 5 question increments. Okay, so like if we started at 5 o'clock, I'm like, okay, by 5:04 I would go to I have to be done with 5 questions. Okay, so like I kept giving myself only 4 minutes for each 5 questions, okay, until it got harder. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna allow myself 5 minutes. Plus I knew in my head that I had those 1 minutes stacked up for the hard questions that I knew were gonna come. So I wasn't worried when I didn't finish in 5 minutes, because I knew that the first questions I only did in 4 minutes. So that worked good for me. But if you don't like it, then try some stuff and experiment. Good thing I'm not doing English right now. That just came to me about the timing thing. If you, after practicing a while, you feel like you're getting comfortable with the time, and if you feel like it's taking you, too much time to keep calculating how much, what's the time that you need to finish by for every 5 questions, then maybe you can start doing a lesson every 10 questions or something. And that's if you feel comfortable with the time after practicing a little bit. Okay, so something about the timing is I'll go by the actual time instead of my predicted time. So if my actual and predicted are not the same. So if I say I want to finish in 4 minutes, like I said, that's how you should start. But instead I finished in 3 minutes. I do better than I thought, okay? The next thing, so I finished by 5:03 instead of 5:04. My next goal is not gonna be 5:08. It's gonna be 5:07. I'm gonna go by the actual time. Same thing as if you take longer than you thought. So you were supposed to finish by 5:04, but you lost track of time and you finished by 5:05. Your next predicted goal should be 5:09, not 5:08. Because then that makes you not stress out as much for a mistake that you did previously. So I forgot something about the timing. So you're timing yourself for the every 5 question that increment thing, but you also have the major you also have the ultimate goal that you're timing yourself towards, which is all 60 questions. So towards the end, you want to make sure that you're not running out of time, basically. I mean, if you're doing, like I said, and you're going 4 minutes for every 5 questions in the beginning, like half of the exam, you should be fine. But don't forget that you're also timing yourself on the 60 questions as a whole, because once you start getting to 5 minutes per question, per 5 questions, or maybe a little bit more than that, then it's gonna be hard to figure out where you are exactly on the time scale. If you want to think of maybe a way to keep yourself on that, then yeah, you can do that. But for me, I just went like that. Testing tip: get an what's it called? Like a watch with you, not the one. I think it's called the analog one. Get the one that you can see the exact minute, so you can time yourself very minute for minute. And the one that I have too gives you the seconds too, so it's really helpful. So this is a trick that I use for my tests in school and everything. If there's like a formula that you just cannot remember, no matter how much you try, you remember it, and then once you start the test, you always forget it. Once you start the test, write it on top of the page, like this, for example, or something. And it's not cheating because you remembered it, and then you just, once the test starts, just write it on top, and then if you need to come back and refer to it later, you can. Oh, that was a thumbs up. So one thing that I forgot to tell you, I just saw it right now. So at the end, when you search up ACT practice, the ones from the ACT website, or the ones that are released exams before, in the very end, when you scroll all the way down, you'll see you'll see a bubble sheet, okay? And so I recommend doing it so you can practice bubbling and because it's different. Bubbling is different than writing out the letter, especially getting closer to the exam date on your practice exams. You don't have to always do this, but at least do it for a little bit, or for a while before you take the test, so you can just get used to it. So do keep in mind that some of these questions, the easiest way to answer them will be guess and check. Even though all of these questions, the vast majority of these questions probably have a formal way to do it and the right way to do it, but you're lucky enough that you're given answer choices for all of these, at least on the ACT. So use that to your advantage. For example, let me show you a question real quick. Oh, this is hard to have in the camera this way. Hold on. I hope you can see 57. But basically it says, for what positive real value of k, if any, is the determinant of the matrix k3, 4 equal to k. And it tells you how to do it, because it tells you the determinant of matrix of this it gives you the formula. Okay, so for me, I went to everyone until I got to the right answer to guess and check, because that was the easiest way to do it. I'm sure there's probably a right way to do it, but that would take too long, or maybe it won't, but I don't even know a right way to do it. So what I'm saying is, it's okay sometimes to guess and check. Actually, for some of these, that's the best way. Okay, I don't feel the need to tell you this, but just in case, a lot of these questions, a lot of the questions will have arithmetic, and you can use a calculator, and at least for me, my head goes oh, okay, I just set up a proportion, let me use a calculator, but sometimes doing it without a calculator will be faster. I really don't feel like I need to tell you that, but thought I'd mention it. Another thing with the ACTs, sometimes they'll try to make a question sound hard when it's really not. Look at this. The number a is located at -2.5 on the number line below. Okay, -2.5, yeah. One of the following number lines shows the location of a squared. Which number line is it? Basically, it's asking you what's -2.5 squared. Alright, so obviously it's not a, because those are negative numbers. -2.5 squared, after you do it on a calculator, you get 6.25. it's a really easy question. It's literally just to plug it in, but they're trying to make it sound harder than it is. Like this. When it, sorry. I'm trying to don't make the words. Okay, in questions like this, when it's like asking you a question where it makes sense that they would give you a picture but they don't, make the picture and label it like they do. So they said triangle DEF. Okay, the length of DE is 30 inches. Because I already labeled DE, okay, I can just do it. 30 inches, blah, blah, blah. And then whatever they say and just fill it in. Because I mean, Kevin, you're smart enough to do this. You're probably smart enough to do this without drawing it. But in case you're, I don't know. If you can do it without drawing it, that's amazing. But I can't. I always have to draw it. So. Okay, so disclaimer on not all, but like the tips that I give you, Kevin, if like there's a tip that's like, you're like, okay, like I tried this like 2 times, 3 times, and it's like making me worse and I have like a better way to do it, then do it that way. Okay, so I'm just giving you like everything that I can think of that I did, that I thought was good and that I think could help you. But if you like, after trying it for a while and you think you found a better way, then do the other way. This is honestly true for any test you take, like ever. And you probably have been told this before, but if you come across a question that you have no idea about, skip and come back. This is something like after you finish your practice test, when you check, make sure that you understand why every single question is correct. If something that you're not sure about, that like you kind of guessed on, that maybe you did like an educated guess on, still mark that as if مثلا you're unsure, maybe like make a different mark for it so that you can come back to it and make sure that you understand exactly why the right answer was right. Okay, you can always ask me, and if I don't know it, then make sure to find someone who does, your math teacher, make sure you try your very hardest very hardest to figure it out. And you can also search it online, because a lot of kids often have the same questions, and that's what I did a lot. It's like search up online and somebody probably asked it and someone probably answered it. So on the ACT and SAT, if you're skipping and coming back to something, don't leave that question on the bubble shape blank. Bubble it in and then fix it later, because you may not have time to go back and bubble it in again for the first time. So I just finished the math section. The last 5 questions I used about 9 minutes on. Tells you why you really cannot go with the 60 minutes, 60 questions, so 1 minute per question trick. That's not even a trick. That's why kids are failing the math section, because you can't do that. It really does get harder as you go. I mean, not every single question is harder than the one that's right before it, but section wise it gets harder as you go, so you need more time as you keep going. As you get more comfortable with the test, you should expect to finish the first 60 questions. So like you should expect to finish like the first like 20 minutes with like the 4 minutes per 5 questions trick. The middle 20 was like 1 minute per question, and then the last 20 was like maybe 1 minute per question, maybe 2 minutes per question. You never know. So I'll come back to tell you how I did. Please don't judge me, because I did forget some stuff, like the little formulas and stuff. I did forget some of that. So okay, so I'm done checking the things I got wrong. So my score on this one was a 26, and I'm actually glad that I didn't do too good on this one, because looking back at the ones that I missed, the vast majority were just stupid mistakes, and the other ones were like forgetting formulas. So I forgot the formulas because I no longer use them, but that shouldn't be a problem for you, so study those well so you don't forget them. But the stupid mistakes thing is real. I struggled with that a lot when I was doing practice exams, and I can't say there's a tip to help it, because I myself haven't figured out that tip yet. But one thing that might that could help is, well, just like by practice, you know the things that you miss a lot. So like one time it actually got so bad that I wrote down like every stupid question. I wrote down exactly what the stupid mistake was, and that like helped me like focus on it more next time I was taking it. But to mess on things like plugging back the X, making sure that you read what they're asking you, and that like while you're solving, like the number that you find, maybe you need to add or subtract something from it, and that's not your final answer. You know, make sure you're, well, this one, I feel like the ACT is okay with this one, so I'm not gonna say it. Maybe when I do the SAT video I'll say it, but you shouldn't have a problem with that. Like, that's not a problem because they italicize it, so you'll be fine. But yeah, just make sure, pay attention when you take the exam and you do stupid mistakes. You're gonna realize what stupid mistakes you're doing, and you'll do better. So yeah, that was math. Looking forward to reading. You can do while you're taking the ACT, like, you know, like the page, sorry, I can't write on the computer, but like the page مثلا would look like this. Okay, so I remind myself that when the clock مثلا hits 5:25, I have to be done with question 5. So in the top of the page I write 25, reminding me that I have to be done by 5:25. That just helps me to remember the time instead of having to recalculate every time. But if you don't need that, you don't have to. But like, I'd write it on top, like on top of the page. Ooh, on top of the page right here. Sorry, building on the last thing that I said, since مثلا when you take the practice one at home, مثلا you can like, you'll probably maybe number it like this. So if you write it all on top here, you'll like forget which one is which. So I just write the time next to it, like, and I have to get number 5 by مثلا 5:56 or 2:56, whatever the time is. Okay, so I just came across this question, and I don't know when they're gonna teach you this or if they even teach it. So I'm gonna show you how to do that, and you might even figure it out just by looking at it. So it says, well, you can read it. I'm on question 3. Okay, so all you have to do is literally, it's the same thing as saying this. Since the base is the same number, that doesn't matter. You just look at the exponents. So you just do 2x plus 7 equals 15. And then you figure out x from that. Question that I don't know if they teach you or when they will teach you it, but read number 6 real quick. Okay, so how you set that up is 40 plus 2x, right? Like $40 per month plus 2 per book equals 35 per month plus 3 per book. So since they said for 1 month, you just leave it at 40. If they said like مثلا for 2 months, then you would multiply 40 times 2, and it would just be like 80 plus 2x equals, oh gosh, Kevin, what's 35 times 2? Kevin, what's 35 times 2? 70. Thanks, Kevin. Plus 3x, and that's how you do it. But since they only said 3 months, you don't need to do anything extra. And then you would just solve this equation. See real quick. So the average of 5 distinct scores has the same value as the median of the 5 scores. The sum of the 5 scores is 420. What is the sum of the 4 scores that are not the median? So it's not a hard question, but the wording can, like, the wording can be a little bit confusing. So basically they're saying that the average of 5 scores is the same as the median of those 5 scores. Okay, and it also gives you the sum of those 5 scores. So to get the average, you take the sum and you divide it by how many there are. So 420 divided by 5 gives you 84. And they said the average, remember, is the same as the median. So 84 is the median. So then they ask you, what is the sum of the 4 scores basically without the median? So you just take the sum, which will give you 420 minus the median, 84, and then you get 336. Oh, 1 minute. The picture that I showed you is remember that when they tell you about a triangle, it's not always the right triangle. So like, I drew it, but I didn't draw the little thing over here that is the sign that it's a right triangle. Okay, and that is because They didn't tell me. If they don't tell you it's a right triangle, that means it can look like anything. It can look like this, or it can look like, I don't know. Oh, that's not a triangle at all. Ignore. Look, it can look like that or like that, and that is not a right triangle. It could be a right triangle, but you don't know. So can't use hypotenuse theorem for this. Okay, so this type of question, read number 22 real quick. The first thing it says, the length of a rectangle is 5 inches longer than the width. So once you do that, this is what you do. You go to your scratch paper and you draw a rectangle, and this is how you do it. The length is 5 inches longer, x plus 5, than the width, which would be x. Alright, and then it asked you, the perimeter of the rectangle is 40 inches. What is the width of the rectangle in inches? So the width is, we already had labeled it, x. Now I did this label without even reading the rest of the problem because I'm so used to seeing these. When it tells you it's longer than that, like when it's like worded that way, you know, like you should start off like this. Okay, so it's x, so the perimeter of the rectangle they said is 40 inches. So the perimeter would be like 2x plus, ignore that, that was other work. 2x plus 2 times x plus 5 equals 40. Oh, sorry, I'm running out of space. And then you would solve this equation. Ignore the terrible handwriting, please. Okay. That's how you would do it. So this is again one of the things I don't know when they'll teach you, so I'm gonna just do it now. So this is scientific notation. Hopefully you already know that. If you don't, look it up. It's to get the introduction. But basically, if you have something like this, then just divide 4.8 divided by 1.6 to get that number. That'll be like 3, obviously, as you can see the thing. So it'll be 3. Okay, and then when you have a scientific notation divided by another one, you just subtract. So it'll be -7 minus -11. So in the end, it will be -7 plus 11, which will be 4. So it'll be 3.0 times 10 to the 4th, and that's your answer. Interesting problem. Read number 28. It's not too hard, but maybe I doubt that you would have seen this type of question in a school setting. So I want to show you how you do this. Okay, so this is how you'd go about this. So you know that one of the original numbers is 80, okay? And you know that the 4 numbers will average to 90. So this is how you would start out. So you would do 80 plus x, when x would be representing the sum of the 3 numbers, of the other 3 numbers, okay? So 80 plus x, and then you divide that by 4, aka average, and you know that would equal to 90. So then I figured out that x is gonna equal 280. All right. Next, you know that the first 3 numbers are gonna be the same in the second set, which the 3 numbers are sum up to 280. So you're gonna say, and then it gives you the missing number 96. So you're gonna say 280 plus 96 divided by 4 to take the average, and that will get you 94. Your answer is H. Okay, so question like this, question 42. Read that real quick. Okay, so at first it sounds a little intimidating, like, who knows what symbols mean, why is this, what, how? Okay, so notice that they don't give you the exact, values for I and K. They just tell you 1,000 times the value of K. And at first that confused me a little bit. I was like, well, yeah, it's 1,000 times, so what is it? But notice that this is a ratio, so it doesn't matter. As long as they tell you the ratio of it, it's fine. So it will be like 1,000 over 1 or 2,000 over 2. In the end, it's still gonna be 1,000 over 1 once you simplify it. So that's how you do that one. So it'll just be like 10 log times 1,000. And by the way, log, you can do that on the calculator. That's not something that you're usually meant to do mentally. Okay, so I was looking at the ones that I got wrong, and this one, actually, I don't want you to make the same mistake. It's a very simple question. A room has a rectangular floor that is 16 feet by 21 feet. What is the area of the floor in square yards? So you know that you have to divide by 3, but here's the thing. Do not multiply and then divide. Divide and then multiply. So don't do like 15 times 21 and then multiply that by 3 to get the amount in yards. Do 15 divided by 3 is 5. 21 divided by 3 is 7. So 5 times 7 is 35, and that's your answer. Don't make the same mistake that I did. Another mistake that I made that could have very easily been avoided is this question. So basically, to skip the whole reading, it wants to ask you on 5 miles, what is, you have like 2 taxi companies, like these are company 1, company 2. So it's asking you in 5 miles, what is the least fair amount that you can pay? So 5, we're up here, we're at this area, and then 5 here, we're at this area. Obviously here in company 2, we're gonna have the least. So let's take a closer look here. So you go to 5, all right, and it asks you like the exact amount, right? So at first I said 8. Wrong. I completely forgot. I mean, like, I knew this, but in the context of the question, it can be forgotten that when there's an open circle and a dark circle right above it, that fills it up. So you're no longer at $8. You are now, even though it said the line, since it's an open circle, you're going to go to the dark circle, and that is at $9, not 8. And so that would be your answer. Question 52 real quick. So, what the heck? I know. It's confusing. Well, it's not confusing actually, but it's just too many letters for math, right? But here's the thing. This equation, okay, I forgot honestly how to do this question, but what I want to tell you is that there's like an equation, and it's like something like if it's greater or if it's like less than 0, then you're gonna have more than one solution. I'm pretty sure this is I'm pretty sure we wrote this in the KD formula / weird questions packet. So look at that, and if not, search it up. But you need to know the thing for this. It's like if it equals 0, there's only one solution. If it's greater than 0, there's 2 solutions, or something like that. I forgot the rules, but this is how you would do this problem, and you need to do this because I have seen this more than once before. Quick look at question 53. Okay, so it's asking for the 50th term. Oof, you really do not want to keep adding that far. So here's what you're gonna do. You don't know the first 2 terms. They give you 13 and 18, right? The difference between them is 5. So that's all I got. So first thing you're gonna do is subtract 4 from 50. Why? Because you already know the first 4. So 4 from 50, you get 46. Multiply that by 5, as if you're adding 5 every time. You get 230. But that is not one of the answer choices, and let me tell you why. You had those 4, you just can't ignore them, you have to add them back in. So you add the last thing, which is 18, plus 18 equals 248.